We got ourselves an inverse battle today, y'all. Tonight, coming at you late, around 11 p.m. with this one, y'all. And it's Black Star or Death the Kid versus Black Star. Anime only, right? I already said that on TikTok. But this is the breakdown right here. All right. Um, we have Death the Kid, who's son of Death, the Grim Reaper, right? And then we have Black Star, who is one of the Star Clan. Star Clan was wiped out because they sought power. And in their pursuit of power, they became like Kishins because they wanted to, grow to new heights and surpass God, essentially. And Black Star intends to do similarly, but he's not going to like lose himself. If you know what I mean, he's still going to be Black Star, but he's going to surpass God. He's going to become powerful without, you know, consuming human souls and shit like that. We have these two going at it outside of Meister Academy, just like in the anime, and I'm basically gonna run it down for you how it goes, right? So strength, physical strength, I do believe Black Star has physical strength over Kid. He's just a guy who works out a lot. He does. You see it in the series. This boy definitely, gets to fucking work. And I'm not saying Kid doesn't get to work, because Kid does actually take his job seriously too. But he's not doing all that. He's more, he can get lost in the details of shit and then really just fucking like lose his mind over some like small shit, you know. Whereas, Black Star's just going to work, you know what I mean? And so his body is physically conditioned for a fight. But then I have Speed going to actually Death the Kid. Death the Kid, he can move a little quick. He's a little, shifty little guy. We got durability. I'm giving that to Black Star as well. Black Star can take a beating. He lost to Mifune twice in the anime. You know, Kid, you know, not like Black Star. He can, Black Star can take some hits, right? Endurance, I'll give that to Kid. Slight edge to Kid in the endurance department. Comes to intelligence, I also give that to Death the Kid. Death the Kid knows about, being a Meister. His dad was like, you should go, come join my school. I know you're my son and other things, you could, be of great use to us over there. He's like, okay, I'll do that, even though I know this and this already. And, I'm not so sure that I need to even like, kind of go to class, but, I'll still go and do right by you and shit like that, right? This boy is not, stupid, but he can get lost in like little details because he likes, symmetry. You hear him talk about it all the time if you watch the anime. He gets lost in that shit sometimes. But when he's in battle and he's locked in, he actually does. He can get down to business, and his experience is slightly higher than Black Star's because before he was even going to the academy, he was doing missions already. So there's that. Then we have experience going to Death the Kid. Close skills go to Black Star. He has powerful wavelengths. He can basically charge his like soul energy into his hand and run up on somebody and like really disrupt their like nervous system, right? Really have him like shook for a little bit. He can hit Black Star can hit Death the Kid if he can like grab him in time. If he can get the edge on him in speed or catch him lacking. So this fight's not going to be an easy one. But he rushes up on him, hits him with like close skills. Death the Kid's gonna feel that. I give that close skills to Black Star. Range skills, I give that to Death the Kid. Literally, he has two fucking pistols in his hands. Two. two two Glocks, he has two fucking handguns in his hand. Then they become like rail guns, laser cannons, in both of his arms when he uses soul resonance. And he has probably the best soul resonance, like with his spirit. Now, what I'm like, Black Star does too, but like his is like there with Liz and Patty. He's like Liz, Patty. They don't complain. They do their thing and they link up with him, and it's difficult because it's three, but like they're sisters. They have a close bond, and then he understands that they have their little bond, and even though he's a bit sideways about. But he understands his personality and shit. When it's time to fucking, lock the fuck in, he can lock the fuck in. And these, the gun is a range, you know, use that for right range, right? This man has, range skills over Black Star. Black Star likes to come in close and slice people up. We got Recoup going to Black Star. Black Star is one of those guys who, after he recovers, he's right back to work. He don't take days off and shit like that. The minute he like knows he can move around again, he's back at it. So recovery, I'm giving it to Black Star. Hacks and abilities, that goes to Death the Kid. And we're using anime only here, right? I hear that Black Star is like a fucking beast in the manga too. But I'll be reading that and I might remake this video like manga versions and shit. If we don't get a solely reboot, right? I want to see that too. And then they adapt all the like manga material this time when they make it. But that might happen, may or may not happen. So I'll have to remake this video, the manga only of this fight. But this is anime only. And then the environment goes to Black Star because he always fights outside in the schoolyard, right? But even with all that, Death the Kid wins this match, high difficulty. Black Star doesn't have the, enchanted sword locked in like that yet. He doesn't have, full control over it. Whereas Death the Kid actually does have his, soul resonance, like, right. Not to say this is an easy fight. Like I said, this is a high difficulty fight. Mr. Black Star loses this one, though. Death the Kid wins high difficulty. And it was actually shown in the anime that, Death the Kid could beat Black Star. You gotta watch those episodes. But anyways, be cool, call in the corner. And let me know what you think about this fight in the comments below.